Welcome to Writing the Wrong Way, the podcast for writers who strive to be bold and readers who crave something new. I'm your host, Jonathan Ball. I want to thank you for being here, and I want us to stay in touch. So subscribe to this podcast, then go to writingthewrongway.com and enter your best email to receive the Martian Embassy Missive, my bi-weekly newsletter where I let you know what's happening on Mars, where we're always making big plans. Join the Martians so you don't get left out of the invasion at writingthewrongway.com. And as a special bonus, I'll send you a free book. Speaking of books, my new book is The Lightning of Possible Storms, a collection of short fiction that reads like a novel. It includes stories about a mad scientist trying to steal his son's dreams, a story where a personification of capitalism is trying to impress his boss by winning a contest at work, a story about a Hollywood producer who just decides to adapt a bunch of explosions, and many other stories, some funny, some terrifying. Salima Nawaz says that is cheerfully horrifying and full of the unexpected. Suzette Mayer says it's beautifully written and expertly composed. And I say, it's time you read this book. I've been working on it for almost 20 years, and I'm excited to share it with you. So please go to possiblestorms.com. Again, that's possiblestorms.com, and you'll find out a lot more about this book and some of the bonuses that you can get when you buy this book. Let's get on with the show. We were just talking off the record about Ryan's manuscripts he's got out and about how our MacBook batteries are nightmares.
That's what people want to hear.
That's what people want to hear. That's what the kids want to hear. Kids want to hear about that. They want to hear about what we're playing on Nintendo Switch.
Yep.
What are you playing on Nintendo Switch these days?
As if I'm playing anything else. I play. I put over 1,000 hours into Mario Maker 2.
I just got Mario Maker 2, and I've been trying Ryan's levels. Ryan, you should tell people your Maker code. You should dig it out. If anybody is listening to this podcast, number one, if anybody's listening to this podcast, number two, and they have Mario Maker 2, number three, they should play Ryan's poetry-themed levels. Or at least they're not really poetry themed, but they're.
I just don't want to. I don't want to boot my Switch up. So I'm
gonna read it off my text here.
Oh, you do it.
Actually, I don't. Hang on. I gotta look at my computer for it. But Ryan has been making. Tell people about while I'm looking for it. Tell people about your Mario Maker level design philosophy.
So it's not my Mario Maker design philosophy. I'm lifting from a design philosophy from a group of hardcore ROM hackers who produce what are called Kaizo levels. And Kaizo in Japanese just means rearrange. But it's it originally started with these people going into Super Mario World and hacking the game in order to create new levels, but the levels were kind of impossibly difficult. And to the point that it was I think the first one was a dare. This guy made it for his friend and said, "Here, play this." But it's become a whole thing, and I think it blew up in popularity around the time of Mario Maker 1, because all of a sudden it was way easier to kind of get into learning how to build these levels. But these levels are kind of big into impossible tricks like shell jumps and stuff like that, which I cannot do. I'm not competent. I'm not a competent enough player. But what I like about the Kaizo levels is it's one trick at a time. They're hyper linear. So the level, if the level is good, even if you can't do the trick, you know what you can do next or what you have to do next, because there's only one thing to do. And I think that's kind of exciting. That you can make something really difficult, but that it doesn't hold the player's hand, but makes it extremely clear what the execution is. And I wonder if poetry can do that, but that's a different conversation.
And Ryan has named all these levels after books of some sort. So every level is the name of a book. I'm trying to remember the one I was playing the other day. You had one named after. I can't remember now. a Louis Cabri book, if I recall correctly. Mood and Boss, I think you had one.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Mario Maker code, if you have Mario Maker, is it 2 or 1, or does both work, or just 2?
Just 2.
So if you have Mario Maker 2, Ryan's Maker code is LRM7HM8DF. So again, LRM7HM8DF. And you can go check out these impossibly difficult levels. I'm playing a little bit of that Mario Maker, but I'm just playing through like the actual game itself, portion of it at this point. I tried some of your levels, but otherwise I have stayed out of Course World, just because I just haven't played a Mario, like a classic Mario, for a while.
Yeah.
So I just need to kind of remember how to play it, you know what I mean? So and get some of that muscle memory back. So I figure if I play through the game proper, which is really just playing different random levels. Well, they're not random, but they're game levels. I figure after I'm done doing that, I'll be maybe ready to kind of dive into Course World a little bit.
Yeah.
Mess around in there.
Well, and the joy of Course World for me is that, like, because I play the rawest, like, most unfiltered garbage, because the joy of the game for me is learning how to compose. Like, it's like the kind of joy I got reading the slush pile at Filling Station 15 years ago, where you would read, is it okay if I call people's poems bad that are in the slush pile?
I would call them bad.
I feel
whether
like
they're in the slush pile or not.
But it would, like, reading these, like, poems of, like, mixed quality, and, like, how it helps you understand why you're writing your poetry the way you are. Like, even in negative, you go,
writing.
I don't like this poem, but in order to, like, convince the other people on the collective that I don't want this in the magazine, I have to be able to articulate why I don't like it, and that's useful.
I teach every year, Ryan. I teach the movie Jack and Jill, which I don't know if do you know what the movie Jack and Jill is?
Oh, I've seen it. It's very
You've seen
bad.
it, right? It's so if you don't know Jack and Jill, you people, Adam Sandler plays both Jack and his sister Jill in an absolute nightmare movie that is so incompetently bad, to the degree that you really have to wonder how the movie was put together. Like, it's not a taste thing either. I kind of enjoy the movie, to be frank, but like, from an objective point of view, it is a poorly designed movie. There are, like, things like in it where, like, it just kind of cuts from. There's actually moments in the movie where it cuts from one scene to another scene, and now the characters are referencing a scene that just happened, but we never saw. Like, it was clearly filmed at some point and then deleted from the movie, but they kept in the part of the movie where they talk about the deleted scene. Like, it's just a stunningly bizarre film. And it also has a weird subplot with Al Pacino, which actually contains a series of complicated literary allusions to Don Quixote. And unless you know the play, both the book and the play version of Don Quixote, the Man of La Mancha play adaptation, unless you have a familiarity with both those texts, you can't actually understand what is happening in the plot of the Jack and Jill subplot. It's just this bizarre, like, incompetently written or put together or edited or both movie. It's a stunning thing, and I teach it every year as a negative example of, like, I literally just have people, like, running through, like, what's wrong with this movie on a technical level, and it's way more. I think it's very much a thing you can learn from, in a way that it's kind of hard to learn from, like, a more, quote unquote masterpiece, because it's so often they're hiding what they're doing in a shell game.
Yeah, if only you could do that. If only you could do that with poetry. If you did that, someone would find out that you were teaching their book as if it were bad.
That's the thing. It's such a small poetry world. I mean, I know you and I both know this.
Adam Sandler doesn't give a shit if you like his movie or not.
No. And it's just quite the. It's a very interesting though. I think, like you're saying, it's very clear what is happening in a bad piece of writing in a way that's not clear in a good piece of writing sometimes. Like even if you can pinpoint in both cases what's going on and why you like something and don't like something or whatever, like how it's working, I think is sometimes apparent in both, but it's more apparent when things aren't working just because they're falling apart. Yeah. So much of like, especially in a certain genres, like if you're reading a thriller, like a fast-paced thriller, say, so much of it is about you not getting you to not notice things.
Yeah.
Just to keep the pace up. Whereas like a sonnet doesn't have that concern. And it's more obvious in its artifice than I think a free verse poem, which is maybe less obvious and therefore, it's kind of hard to see sometimes what's going on a craft level in it. Like I teach Aaron Giovanone sometimes, and I think it's very hard in his poems to see what's happening. Because they are very artificial, but he's just doing certain like sleight of hand, if that makes sense. Do you find? The other thing I've been playing is like a bunch of weird indie games. Like I'm playing this Carry On game where you play as this monster in a horror sort of scenario. You breaking out of a research facility, and you have to like destroy. You have to escape the facility and like slaughter your human captors. It's kind of playing like the thing from like the perspective of the thing itself. And I'm playing a game called Runer, which is kind of more like a weird anime, inspired like I don't know what you'd even call it, like kind of vicious game. And then some like fun or weird. I got this RPG I'm playing called Swords of Ditto, where like the game like keeps punishing you for dying, and every like few days you have to try to beat the entire game, or it'll just slaughter you. It's kind of a weird, like so I'm playing a lot of these kind of like indie-ish games, but then like Mario Maker 2 is really hooking me. How's your reading going? I've read, we should talk a little briefly about where we're sitting at with the 95 books. I
know you were saying you're done.
So right now I don't know when I'm going to put this out exactly, but right now it's August 2020. I mean, I'll put this up in 2020, but it's August right now. I've read 109 books. Now, most of them have been poetry books and graphic novels. So, they're not necessarily books that take the longest amount of time to read compared to, say, like, I still have not read the Ian Williams novel that I said I would read, but I will read it before the end of the year. I just have, at this point, I haven't read it. But I've read 109 books, and so I've officially finished 95 books from that point of view. Where are you sitting at? Again, we're just on August here.
Yeah, I'm nowhere near. So
I thought you were ahead of me for a while there.
I might have been. I kind of like if we counted half finished books,
sure,
I would probably be on par with you. Yeah. I also stopped buying new poetry books because of COVID.
Yeah,
because it just found like I wasn't going to the bookstore, because that was like most of the poetry books I would get, I'd be like casual pickups at wherever. So I'm sitting at the very nice number of 69 books read.
Nice.
Thank you. Most of which is poetry. I kind of did the breakdown. So I've read 48 books of poetry, 14 nonfiction books. But again, like if we counted the half-finished books, that number would be a lot bigger, because like there's been a lot of like academic books where I've read like the intro and the first couple chapters and then set it down because I had to read something else. And then I've read 7 novels, or 7 things I would classify in some way as fiction, although
sure.
a couple of those I'm not sure they should be in the fiction category. But
I made a rule not to count my own book, and I've read my own book 10 times because I've been going through the proofs of this book. I finally am done.
Yeah.
But I like what I do with the proofs is the thing I do not recommend to other people, which is that every time they send me a proof, so like they send me a proof and I read through it. I say these are the changes I would make in the that I want made in the proof, and then I send it them back. So then they give me the second version of the proof. I read the entire thing again. So like most people, and it should and could just read the pages that were supposed to be changed, but I'll just read the whole entire book again.
Yeah. At what point did they get mad at you?
That's a good. Well, they haven't said they're mad at me, but they have taken it away from me. At this point, it's done. It's been finalized. There's no more times I can read the proof. But I still miss two things. I usually catch every single thing, but then when I sent my last thing, I'm like, everything's done. I go, I don't need to see it again. Don't worry. And then Jay's like, actually, Hazel caught two other things. I'm like, son of a. So then I wanted to read the whole thing again, but I'd already committed to not being. That's my window where I'll allow myself to be an insane perfectionist. But but it's literally like, well, I'll be like, should there be a space? Are there two spaces here? Can you check?
Yeah, and that's the level at which I'll miss stuff.
I mean, I typically catch it, but it's it's tricky with this thing that's not a poetry book because it's a short story book, but it's like even though it's a relatively short story, it comes in about 200 pages, but still it's a lot of, it's like what, 60,000 words. You gotta it's a lot of words to read.
Yeah.
So I'm not counting any of those, but that's another 10 books if you want it to be technical about it. But alas, I will never read it again at this point. Although I'm pretty happy with it. I didn't get sick of it. I just, I'm afraid to look at it again.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it because I haven't read any.
We'll see. So. It'll be September 30th. It'll be out. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But you've been piling up the manuscripts here. We were just talking before I started recording about Ryan's various books in process or coming out. I don't know if you're talking about the one that's coming out at this point, but yeah. But you haven't been getting too many new books, say. I've been trying to not to. The one thing I've been getting is I've been getting a lot of graphic novels coming into the house because just because I have like books on order all the time, like it's like if I'm following the series, I'll just tell this comic book store that I get my books from to like just pull every issue of this series or something, or like pull for some of them I refuse to like buy like a Marvel comic, but I'll pull like the trade collection just because I don't want to see ads. But like for like an Image comic, maybe I'll pull the comic itself, say, because there's no ads. But so like but anyway, there's been, I don't know, I don't want to get into like the nuts and bolts of it, but the nutshell is that the comic distribution chain has become it was shut down entirely for a while. There's all this sort of stuff going on, and it's this in a lot of kind of transition and drama. And so it was kind of this scenario where if I stopped buying the books, then my bookstore itself would probably shut down.
Yeah.
Because of like the way that the comic distribution chain works. So I've still been like I haven't been going there every week, but I've been like every once in a while I'll go pick up a big batch of stuff that's there, and just so I can pay for them, as opposed to letting them be on the hook for it because they're just sitting there because they can't cancel the orders or whatever. They're just like a standing order. It's like it just kind of gets like convoluted. But that's why I've been reading all these graphic novels. I mean, I'm like writing this comic and stuff because I just signed to do a mini series with this company. But so I'm like, that's why I'm like in the comic. So I kind of feel like I'm cheating with 95 books because it's like, I mean, it's there are books like I'm talking like big trade collections. I'm not counting every single issue. I'm kind of like a graphic novel basically worth of stuff, but still. It's not like reading a 500-page, whatever. But it's still, we went through all these rules before 100 times. I'm sure it's still a book, and I'm counting it.
Yeah, it counts.
And 109. But yeah, a lot of that's poetry, as you say. So I don't know. I haven't counted exactly, but because it's April, it's at least 36, 40 poetry books in there.
Yeah. Well, in a poetry book, like, even though people hate it when I quantify it like this, you read a book of poetry in an hour.
You can.
I mean, you'll probably have to reread it.
Yeah, I mean, I won't often read them that fast, but you could. Like, it depends what it is, right?
Yeah.
I find if I'm really enjoying it, I won't read it as fast. You know what I mean? Like, I'm reading the Dysgraphist I don't know how to pronounce it. Dysgraphist.
Yeah, the new Kinesia Lubrin book.
Yeah, so that's taking me longer than I would normally read a book.
How's that so far?
I'm liking it. I mean, I'm not super far into it at this point, but I'm liking it quite a lot. You know, the poetry book I liked the most recently is Cassandra Blanchard's Fresh Pack of Smokes.
That book's great.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Mercedes Ng told me to read it. So, like, that was a book I went out of my way to get when I was in Vancouver. I can't remember if it was when I was there, like, last summer or when I was there at Christmas. But, yeah, it's great. And it's kind of like, it's poetry, but it's also kind of like a bit flash fiction-y, although it's not fiction. It's like autobiographical, but
it's like prose poetry that does kind of read flash fiction-y in a way. But that is a book there that I felt was very very well crafted, but very much doing a lot of work to pretend it wasn't well crafted, if that makes sense. Like,
that makes sense.
It's really flying under the radar. A lot of what she's doing is very complicated and intriguing. And I was really impressed by that book. Especially, is it her first book?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, like,
I haven't heard anybody outside of Vancouver talk about that book.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird time right now, but like, I feel like it's really been flying under the radar because I've rarely heard people talk about it, and I have really hardly heard anyone talk about her. Even I never heard of her before I got this book sent to me, and I kind of just like put it in a pile and didn't think too much about it because at a glance I'm just like, well, whatever. It didn't look super interesting to me, but then I just kind of then you had mentioned that you really enjoyed it, and I was just also just kind of like. Every once in a while, I grab like a big stack of these books and I'll just like start reading excerpts from them just to sort of see which ones I might want to read next, kind of thing. Yeah. And it just grabbed me like instantly once I started to actually look at it. But yeah, I'm very impressed with that book. Of the stuff I've read recently, that's probably the book I was most impressed by, for sure. I liked Amber Dawn's My Art is Killing Me a lot too.
Yeah, I quite like that because you had sent that book to me. That's one of the
I got like 2 copies of it.
That's one of the newer books that I have read because I think I got a batch from you right before COVID, and then I ordered like 4 or 5 because I was like I literally haven't read anything from this season. But that Amber Dawn book I thought was like it's very sharp and funny. That's what I like about it.
I love the section where it's just weird amalgamations. She's kind of like parodying by mishmashing together a variety of the like requests she's received.
Yeah. So
it was really, I thought it was really kind of interesting, and that's a book that had these kind of sequence. When you talk about the Blanchard book having sort of a narrative structure, I thought she had these sections which were really, they kind of had an essayistic quality to them.
Yeah.
They kind of had this narrative structure to them, but then they were all these, very much poems in, these very, very controlled, but kind of loose and engaging stylistically. Like I thought it was really impressive. I've seen other stuff by Amber Dawn that, I liked it. But this is probably one of the better books I've seen by her, for sure.
Yeah, I think the only other book I had read by her was one of her other books of poetry. Is like what is it? I can't. Like, it's got a long title. It's like The Book Ends Where My Body Begins. Does that sound right? That's probably wrong.
That's something like that. It's not precisely it, but
I haven't read any of her fiction, which I'm sure is great. But like I did like this new one like quite a bit more. And I think it was the level of humor and the way like as you're saying, it kind of like is straddling the line between kind of poetry and essay, almost like a personal essay.
Yeah, I don't see a whole ton of stuff that does that really well. Like I've tried to do it here and there, Lisa Robertson is probably my favorite person who does it, but
Yeah.
I thought this was, but she doesn't have any humor to her at all, typically, like here and there. But I thought it was very biting and like
Yeah.
harsh, the Dawn book, but had like that, still an interesting like sarcastic vibe in places. But yeah, but then it could drop it really fast. I think you and I have talked about this a few times, but I really appreciate when an author can bring these different registers of voice in and like
Yeah.
just kind of start shuttling one over the other in an interesting fashion. I think sometimes it when it fails, you get this weird mishmash, and it doesn't seem like anything's hanging together. But when it really works, it's quite interesting to me. Like the other one I liked a lot recently was the Louis Cabri book. I don't know if you've looked at that yet.
I haven't even seen it yet.
It's called. No, I just blanked on the. Oh, you know what? I'll look at my list because I am doing $95. It's called Hungry Slingshots. New Star put it out, and it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. He's got a section where he's mimicking bird song, but very much writing, in that kind of with all these kind of capitalistic phrases and and slogans and that KSW style word mishmashing of corporatized speak, but it is very recognizably birdsong.
Oh, okay.
So he's got a number of kind of poems in there where he kind of weirdly and interestingly is sort of doing the thing he normally does, but then has these odd ways he connects it or twists like conventional Canadian poetry material.
Yeah.
It's very curious because typically it's not with the actual words he's using, but it'll just kind of like be on he'll be replicating certain sounds that you might normally find in a quote unquote normal poem, or just sort of weird, landscape description. But it was very curious and something that I hadn't really seen from him before.
Well, it makes sense. Like everything you're saying about this new book, like totally fits in my image of Louis's work. Because one of the things that I like about him is certainly the way that he'll take like recognizable language and he'll start breaking it down. Like I know he's really interested in like PM and like nonce words and and kind of like words that are kind of like reduced to their sound, really. And you see that a lot. Like the book of his that I quite like is, although I like all his work, but for this is Poetry World, where he's got like the what is it? The poem where he's just breaking down like the word Nissan like over and over and over in different ways. I'm looking forward to seeing that book.
I assume it's out. I should have checked actually because I reviewed it, but I got a real book. Like it's not a ARC or anything, so I presume it's like in stores or whatnot.
Well, New Star. I think New Star you have to look for out here. It's trickier to find when you're not in Vancouver.
Sure.
Maybe to kind of wheel us back to like that kind of like thinking about like the autobiographical or the essayistic, like one of the books that I really enjoyed. And I was trying to get you to read it so we could talk about it together, but it's also massively long.
I got it. I just haven't read it yet.
It's the Gladys Hindmarch collected, although it's kind of a collected or a collected selected or something, edited by Deanna Fong and Kara Shearer. Because that's like it's a book. I think like when I did my tally, I put it under fiction. But there's Gladys Hindmarch or Maria Hindmarch is like a writer who's totally straddling lines between genres, and this book like underlines that several times. The first half of the book is just her 3 collected books. The 2 big ones, Birth Account, is like this proprioceptive. I don't know if it's a long poem or like a kind of poetic memoir of her her like having a kid. So through the gestation and through like the labor process, just really kind of like interesting and fascinating, and should be read alongside like people like Fred Waugh and Daphne Marlatt, like in terms of what it's doing. And then the other kind of her major works is the novel, the autobiographical novel, The Watery Part of the World, which is very different than a birth account, but is the classic example of a Vancouver work novel. Reminds me of a lot of Helen Pocherbenko's Taxi, which I quite like. But it's about a young woman who takes a job working in a kitchen on a ship, like ferrying between Vancouver and I can't remember where, but like somewhere in the islands. And it's all about like just life on the ship. That's really great. But the back half of this book, which I think is the interesting thing about it, is it just collects like all this like stuff that we would think of as ephemeral. So like, and puts it basically on the same level as these like major texts. So like letters, reviews, interviews, stuff from like rough work from journals. Like, it's really, really great and really fascinating. And I think like I'd love to see someone like write an essay sketching out the kind of trajectory from someone like Gladys Hindmarch to writers like Amber Dawn and Blanchard.
Yeah, it's curious. I mean, I haven't read the book. I got it, and when you first suggested, you're like, "Hey, get this book, and we'll talk about it." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, it sounds good." And then I got it, and it's like 6,000 pages. It's not that big, but it's like this massive tome. I'm like, what is Ryan talking about? Like, I thought this was like a 80-page poetry book. I'm thinking, oh, it's a collected. It'll be like 200 pages. But yeah, no, it looks really interesting. I was kind of going through it, and I'm really looking forward to checking it out.
It's great. I think like I'm worried that it's a book that like people are going to sleep on.
Yeah, sure.
Partly because of COVID, like it came out in the middle of this, and partly because like, and partly like Hindmarch is not like a hugely recognized writer. Like I could see people gravitating, like it's coming out at the same time. They've got like a collected long poems from Bowering. And I could see people drifting towards the Bowering instead of this. I just think it's really, not just really great, but really important.
What else have you been reading lately that has impressed you, or even just this year?
So like a lot of the reading I've been doing has been for work. So I want to mention one. I read that anthology. Have you heard of that anthology, Resisting Canada?
Yes.
Edited
I haven't read
by
it, but I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. It's like super fascinating, like structurally. It's not perfect. But like, I kind of don't want perfect anthologies because I think perfect anthologies are like useless. But imperfect anthologies help us think about the state of the field. So what Resisting Canada does is it collects like a smattering of contemporary poets, well, contemporary-ish, because like I think they go back they go back like 20, 25 years for some of the stuff. But it's all work that's in resistance to the state, so in resistance to Canada. So in the introduction, Natalie Matuk says outright, like I'm not interested in putting together an anthology that has like a diversity lens. I'm interested in stuff that's actually like resistant to like our idea of Canada. And which I think is like a really interesting and potentially exciting framing. I think the way that the book is put together is a little bit problematic. So what it does is it has two sections. So the first section is all Indigenous writers, and if you were to write out a list of not that I think we should be building canons, but if you were to write out a list of Indigenous writers in Canada who you would consider as like canonical, who, if you were making that list, you wouldn't be able to leave them off. I think she hits most of those people. So like here's the people who are in it. So like Jordan
This is
Abel.
a poetry anthology, just to clarify. Okay.
Yeah, it's a poetry anthology. So like Jordan Abel, Marianne Hart Baker, Billy Ray Belcourt, Rosanna Deerchild, Marilyn Dumont, Marvin Francis, Louise Bernice Half
really?
Skydancer. Yeah. Lee Miracle, Janet Rogers, Armand Ruffo, Greg Schofield, and Leanne Simpson. And there's people that are probably missed in there. But like that's like it's hard to argue any of those names.
No, yeah. Francis, you could argue. I mean, I'm glad to see Francis there, but because he's the person people don't typically think of. But so that's an impressive thing to me. But like otherwise, like that's the list you'd start with for sure.
Yeah, I hope I didn't miss anybody there.
Is Anne Hart in there?
Beth Cuthand. Yeah, Marianne Hart Baker.
Oh, really?
Beth Cuthand, I think I missed when I read that list. And then the back half. So that I think is really interesting.
Is
and then the
Simpson
back half. Leanne Simpson. Yeah.
Okay.
So the back half, I think, is where it gets a little bit shaky, because what the book does is it sets up this binary of like indigenous, non-indigenous.
Sure. Yeah.
And so like the back half of the book is all like non-indigenous poets. And like you can see like it's a bit more slapdash. Like I would have a hard time like arguing these people out, but like I think if the book was longer and actually broke like here are the black poets who are in resistance to the state in a certain way. Here are the.
Well, I would actually rather see I mean, I am not looking at that book, so I'm not. This isn't a major quibble, but like if I was putting a book like that together, I think the way I would want to think about things is what are the techniques of resisting, and then or the sort of like thematic, like the approaches to resisting, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's say, or the strategies, rather than say, because I mean, well, when you name those indigenous authors, for example, there's few of them that I would lump with one another.
Yeah.
In terms of like the way they write.
Yeah.
But I could see clumping some of them together in certain ways.
Yeah, like Jordan Abel writes completely differently than Anne Hart does, than Rosanna Deerchild, than Schofield. Like, you're thinking about them formally.
But Abel, is formally would be very similar to say I don't know, Cabri as an example.
Yeah.
Not that Cabri is in this book, but like if you're just looking in terms of like resisting certain ideas, like Cabri resists sort of corporatization of Canada.
Yeah.
Whereas like Abel is interested in like the corporatization of indigenous like resources.
Yeah.
And so I could see like that sort of strategy clumping maybe being more productive.
So like this is why I think this book is interesting, is because like at very least like it's trying to be kind of prickly in a certain way with these categories, and I think people should pick it up and take a look at it. Because like the poetry is all really interesting, and I think that's always a nice
great
thing
list of people.
Yeah,
even just the partial list you read.
Yeah, but like I think like to pick this up and kind of push against it would be really productive. And I'm doing that in a paper, but like I'd love to hear what other people think about it, because it's not a bad anthology. Just like kind of like I think the kind of categorization it sets up is kind of flawed, but flawed in a kind of like in the sense that like any categorization in something like this is flawed.
The way I was just talking about it, like the flaw of that, for example, would be precisely losing this sort of, the way that, indigenous groups maybe do band together in certain strategic ways to resist political power in Canada.
Yeah.
Right. So you can quibble with any sort of organization for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, and I guess, I'm trying to think of what else I could talk about.
I'm really loving the comic book series Gideon Falls. Like, I know I've talked about this before, but like, if anyone's up on their comics lately, this book Gideon Falls is increasingly, impressively the series that I would recommend above all others to people. It's an existing, continuing series that's ongoing. It's written by a Canadian writer based in Toronto there called Jeff Lemire, who's become a big name in comics. He's right now he's doing he recently he was doing some Batman's stuff for like this DC Black Label thing that they have, which is kind of like the new Vertigo thing at DC. But this Gideon Falls is an image book, and it's ostensibly a horror comic that has also this sort of science fiction element. The artist on this book is Andrea Sorrentino, and is an incredible. This is a book that, even though I think it is very well written and the story is really interesting, I would recommend it alone for the panel layouts. And it's such a weird thing to say, but like the actual panel layouts are things I've never seen before. They're really like strange and impressive. And this book is literally like alone. It has a sound effect in it that I've never seen anything like it whatsoever in comics. I immediately like stole the idea, like, because I was writing this comic at the time, and I literally like literally took a photo of it and like bought an extra copy of the issue and like sent it to the artist, and it was like, you gotta do some sort of sound effect like this. It's like just a fascinating series, and I can say for a fact, has had a direct influence on this thing that I'm doing. So at least one other comic it's influenced, but it's a fascinating book that is about it. As I'm talking, issue 23 just came out, so it's a little ways in, but it's not so far in that you can't be going back and catching up on this comic. But anyway, in terms of new comics or these various comics I'm reading, that's my one recommendation above all. I like Jeff Lemire a lot in general, although there's a couple of his stuff I'm not so impressed with. But for the most part, he's fast becoming my new favorite kind of comic writer at the moment. Gideon Falls is supposedly it's going to be a TV series, but we'll see about that. They always announce these things. But yeah. What else is on your must-read list for people?
What else
these
is on
days?
I was gonna grab one, but it's across the room from me. So give me 1 second.
Well, while you're grabbing it, I'll maybe just recommend another comic series that I like a lot at the moment, which is Something is Killing the Children, which is a much more vicious title. It's actually written by one of the main Batman writers for a time, James Tynion. But Something is Killing the Children is another extremely impressive horror series with a really interesting art layout and art approach. That again, I recommend heavily. Although it's no Gideon Falls. What book are you looking at there then?
So I'm limited in terms of new stuff. I've been spending a lot of time reading stuff off my shelf, but I did order a few back in May or June, newer ones, and I grabbed a couple off the shelf that maybe I would mention that I thought were pretty interesting. One is this book by Natalie Diaz, who's a Mojave writer. And I like this book. It's kind of like a book of lyric poetry, but it has these poems kind of in the middle of the book where they're these kind of this is a poem, Exhibits from the American Water Museum, which is a serial poem, like a numbered serial poem, but the numbers are kind of out of order. So it's got this really nice durational serial thinking to it, and so those are the pieces in this book that I really quite like. I also it has a lot of basketball poems, which reminded me of my friend Mercedes Ng. I almost texted her and said, "Have you read this Natalie Diaz book? It has all these basketball poems in it." So I thought I mentioned that. The other one that I ordered that I quite liked is this book called Body Count by Kyla Jameson. I think I liked it because it has this. We were talking about before we turned on the recording about like Metatron Press a little bit, which if you don't know is like a Montreal press. They're kind of like post-alt lit as far as anyone would want to admit to being like post-alt lit. Where they're kind of like house style as much as they have one, as they a lot of the poets who put stuff out of Metatron. It's this kind of like autobiographical, kind of minimal, often very funny, but like bathed pop culture poems. And this book, Body Count, even though it came out of Nightwood, I think is kind of it's another example of kind of Metatron's out of Montreal, but there's a few writers that they've published who are kind of writing in a similar style that are out of Vancouver. One is Asia Moore, who I mentioned, and the other is this writer Kyla Jameson, who like I kind of like the specificity.
Just name that book again. Sorry,
it's called Body Count.
Okay.
It's got this kind of specificity cut with this like personal directness, like that I quite like. So here's the opening poem of the book. It's called Major Recurring Role. Last night I watched a girl I used to work with die on TV. A mob boss strangled her character. Last time I saw her, I was wearing a uniform that included an ugly hat and making $10.50 an hour. I can't remember what she ordered. Probably a smoothie. I wonder if she felt bad for me. I could have pretended not to remember her, but I was beyond shame by then. We'd met in Paris and again in New York, where we'd modeled clothes in a designer's store, just like the women on Rodeo Drive in D2 The Mighty Ducks, but less glamorous. I took an acting class before I moved away from the center of things, but didn't like the roles for women. I wanted better lines. So that's the kind of like tone of the book. I quite like it. I know she's friends with Kayla Zaga, and I don't want to say, oh, this book's just like Kayla Zaga, but it's not. But it does share some of the like a similar DNA. So I thought those two books were quite good, and I won't mention the ones that I also bought that were also good, but like maybe I didn't like quite as much.
What
people can check my list and go, why does Ryan hate my book?
People always do stuff like that, eh? That's why I stopped doing Goodreads, or rather, I picked up Dina Del Bucchia's approach of you give everything 5 stars, because that way nobody gets mad at you for only giving them 4 stars or whatever. Let's end off with just talking briefly about what we're either reading now or going to read next. So by the time this comes out, I will have already put out the episode where I talked to Salima Nawaz. But, when we were recording this, I am, so not when this comes out, but when I'm recording it, the book I'm reading now is her book. Salima Nawaz is Songs for the End of the World. So it's a novel, and it is, Salima is kind of in this interesting position where she's now has been putting out a novel about a pandemic, coronavirus that kind of sweeps across the world and causes this complete social upheaval. Now she wrote and edited and completed all this book in 2019. But here it is, well before there was even the kind of hint of this sort of scenario. She started writing it, back in like 2013, but now here she is, putting the book out at this time, and it's been a really weird and interesting kind of scenario for her. She's in Montreal right now too, so right in the epicenter in Canada, so it's been like this crazy, surreal experience for her. But anyway, the book is wonderful, I really recommend it. Again, by the time this thing comes out, people could already go back and listen to the episode with Selima where we talk more about this book after I read it. But yeah, I would. Selima Noir's Songs for the End of the World. Her last book was Bone and Bread, which was one of the selections on Canada Reads, and then her first short story book, she won the Journey Prize for one of those stories, and so on and so forth. So, she's kind of somebody people might know, but is super impressive new novel out. As of the time I'm talking, when this comes out, it'll have been a few months out.
Yeah.
What about you? What are you reading or about to read?
Oh man, I feel like I'm like totally adrift where I've got a stack of books that I should look at, but I don't want to read it. I just want to get really good at Fall Guys. Instead,
are you playing Fall Guys? So I'm marketing Fall Guys right now,
okay.
For this freelance video game stuff I'm doing.
Yeah, don't tell your boss, but I don't think they need to market that game anymore.
They don't need to. No, I don't. It's pretty much doing its own job. Yeah. That game's going nuts.
But to talk in abstract, to kind of actually try to answer your question, I've been reading a lot for this pair of papers that I'm writing. So I've been rereading like Shane Rhodes that I need to finish rereading. I've been reading a bit of Christine Stewart, a bit of Rachel Zolf. I've been cramming like half books about like the politics of recognition, which may or may not show up on my list. So I've been doing that. I want to find a way to like catch up with the poetry that I missed, because I feel like I've done okay. Like I've read like maybe 10 of the books that came out in the last season, but like I feel like I missed a ton, and I feel like I don't like the kind of guilt trip of like, oh, my book is lost, no one will read it because of the pandemic, because I don't think poetry books work that way, because you don't have to read the book the month it comes out. That's my plea to like everyone, is like you can read the book 2 years down the line and it still counts. You still read the book. But I know like money fucks things up. But I would like to kind of like catch up a bit. So I'm gonna have to go and figure out what the hell even came out in the past like 6 months, and then what's coming out in the fall. Is there anything you're excited for in the fall in terms of poetry?
I just got a big stack of books from Coach House and from other places for October, and I don't know. I haven't looked closely at them yet, but at a glance, there's some pretty interesting looking stuff. I'll just walk, and talk a little bit because I'm on this headset where I can walk away from the computer and still come in clear-ish. But
I mean, we could play a game where you read the name of the book, and then I tell you whether it's good or not.
Have you? But you haven't read these yet.
I know, that's what people want to hear, is they just want to hear my kind of like advance hunch about like
Kyla Jameson. Okay, this is the book right here. So I thought I'm going to pull it off my shelf. I'll read that pretty soon. Sarah Dowling's got a book coming out.
I saw that.
I'm really interested in that. And Ken Babstock has a new book coming out that looks super interesting. So like, those are the two those are both out of Coach House. And so those are the two I'm the most interested in right now. They also sent me a book by Ian Williams, because Coach House is doing another Ian Williams book. So I'll read probably this book before I read his other book. I'll read his book that's not out yet. That's not out for like months before I read his book that's been out for a while.
Before you read his celebrated novel.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I got them both. I bought them both. So I bought his novel, actually, if I recall.
No, but those sound great. I'll put those on my list.
Do you know what this one's? Sachiko Murakami?
Oh, yeah, out of Arsenal Pulp.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. September is out. I'm just looking at it here. So that looks really good. So Dennis Cooley, The Muse Sings, is coming out of At Bay Press. Now I've read this. This is book. He gave me this book a while back. I don't think it's actually out for a while, but it's a really impressive Cooley book. Now, Cooley is a guy who's got like 2-3 books coming out. I've read them all. I don't know when, like, two of them Turnstone's putting out. I'm not sure when precisely they're putting them out. I blurbed like these two books, and I haven't seen them yet. But my impression is they're supposed to be out like right away or shortly. This At Bay Press is the third Cooley book that's coming out. So Cooley may have like 3 books out in 1 month. I don't know. I'm not sure on the timeline of it. But those are the ones I'm most interested in.
You really want to impress your poetry friends when they're telling you to read the newest hits from
Cooley?
From Anstruther Press. I like Jim and Anstruther. I think they do good work. I was trying to think of like what people post about on Twitter all the time. It's like whatever chapbook has come out of like Anstruther.
Oh, yeah.
Like you could just say, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to the new Dennis Cooley," and everybody will think you're talking about some hip young writer because no one outside of Winnipeg knows who Dennis Cooley is.
Well, they've kind of like fallen off the Cooley train. They should get back on it. But like At Bay Press. So look at this book. I'm on the video here. Maybe I'll post this video later, Ryan, so people can see. But At Bay has done. It's a hardcover with a little hummingbird in here. Plus, it's got this great. A dust jacket here.
It's hurting my eyes. It looks a lot like what was Cooley's like selected poems from the mid '90s.
Sunfall.
Sunfall has a similarly gaudy, overly bright cover. This one I think does that job better.
I like that cover too, but this one does look better than that one. And yeah, he's got this but yeah, it's a beautifully designed book. At Bay Press, I don't think people really know much about At Bay Press. Like they're kind of starting to make a bit more of a wider impression, but they do great books, and really, they almost exclusively do hardcovers. Not entirely, but almost exclusively do like hardcovers, and have been winning a lot of design awards. I don't know if you saw Mary Barnes. They did I think a soft paperback for her, but when they do a paperback, they'll do like French flaps and they'll put like foil on it. Like it's. They do some pretty impressively designed stuff.
Do all the stuff to a paperback that makes it hard to read?
Yeah, exactly. Well, inside of it, this is just like the cover. They won't like make the stuff foil. But yeah, it's
Don't tell Coach House that I hate the paper that they use because it makes the books hard.
I love the Coach House paper.
I know everybody but me likes it.
They have special paper they only use for themselves. At least how they used to do it. I mean, I'm biased, of course, because I published the Coach House, but I like their paper quite a bit. I'm curious to see but yeah, those are the books. I would say like the new Cooley books, whatever they may be. There's like 3 of them coming out. I don't know when precisely. Sarah Dowling, Ken Babstock, Ian Williams, all out of Coach House, and Sachiko Murakami out of.
Oh, the one I do know about is Talon's putting out the completed. I don't know if it's completed, but like they're reissuing Music at the Heart of Thinking, Fred Waugh.
Oh wow, you're kidding me! That's my favorite Fred Waugh book.
But it's
Breathing My Name with a Sigh is my favorite, and that's my second.
But Music at the Heart of Thinking is the one where he does he writes in the introduction that like the poems are improvisational, but like based on some combination of jazz and drunken Tai Chi.
Yeah.
But they're great, and like it's nice to see because they were in like 3 or 4 over a bunch of books, and like a bunch of it was never published outside of journals, and he's probably written a bunch that have never seen the light of day. I don't want to oversell this because I have not seen the book, but like I'm pretty excited for it, and a lot of it's just been out of print for ages.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking to me, and next time when you're done your 95 books, we'll do another one and catch up everybody. Maybe at the end of the year.
I better get on it because like I'm not finishing anything right now.
Yeah, get on it. Well, you still got time. It's only August, like I say.
Yeah.
But you're 69 books in, so you're not even that far off. Well, thanks for talking to me, Ryan.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Keep writing the wrong way.